Hello there. So today I'm going to be talking to you about one of the big Forró classics. But first of all, I want to tell you a little story about how I first came across the song. This was at Stuttgart Festival in 2014. And you know the moment in the festivals where there's the group photo, everyone comes together, and on this occasion, the teachers and musicians started singing. And everyone joins in together. And I'm sat there going, how do they all know these words? Well, as you might have guessed, the song was Branca. And Branca is one of the Forró songs that you have to know. And so I learnt it at Stuttgart Festival. It was written in 1947 by Luis Gonzaga, who I'm sure you've all heard of, in collaboration with Humberto Teixeira. And they were a writing partnership that collaborated for many, many songs. They had an objective, which was to promote the culture from the northeast of Brazil. And so what you need to know is that Brazil is a huge country, huge, bigger than Europe. And so of course, across such a large scale, there are many different ways of talking. Now the written language has been standardized, just like in most countries these days, but there are still pronunciation differences, despite the written word being the same. So there's a great example in English, in my British English accent, I would say car. And you don't actually hear a r sound there, but it's written in the standard writing, C-A-R. But in the United States, and I'm going to do my best impression, they would really pronounce car with that r at the end. Well, it's the same thing in Brazil. And so in this song that they wrote, they maintained the northeastern way of speaking. Now, northeast, big area, I'm simplifying here, but there are some tendencies no matter where you are in the northeast. So for this, click on the link that's in the article, and I'm going to highlight a few of these regional differences. So first of all, where in written Portuguese you would have an LH, a L sound, in the northeast that becomes an I. And we can see that in the very first line, quando olhei, that would be olhei in standard written Portuguese. The same thing in the second paragraph, fornalha, where it would be fornalha in standard Portuguese. You also have changes where the AR at the end of a verb becomes just an A. So for example, right down at the end, espalhar would be, espalhar would normally be espalhar. So we have the LH and the A at the end making a change. And the same thing with voltar in the second to last paragraph. And voltar would normally be voltar. And that brings me to the third change, which I'm going to highlight, which is instead of an L, voltar, there is an R instead. So we have that in voltar, but we also have it in plantação instead of plantação, and in farta instead of falta. And so these are not typos, and I've sent you the lyrics that I have, even though it's a version by Dominguinhos officially, where the song was written by Luis Gonzaga, because it's the best version of the lyrics that I found, where they really highlight with quotation marks and maintain the adapted spelling that reflects the northeastern pronunciation. So, and there was one more point that I wanted to highlight, which was entonces. So that would come from the word entonces with an S at the end, familiar to some Spanish speakers out there. And this is an old word that's not really used so much anymore, meaning então, okay, therefore, so, etc. Now, moving on a little bit to the content of the song, I'm going to highlight some words of vocabulary that I think are really interesting for us as forrozeiros and non-Portuguese speakers to be aware of. The first thing is the title, asa branca. So asa branca is a type of bird, and it's a type of bird that can be found all over Brazil. It's called an asa branca, asa wing branca white, because along the edge of its wing there's a line of white. And what happens is that in times of drought, so the northeast is a very agricultural region, but also a very dry region. And so in times of drought, this bird that lives almost everywhere migrates away. And you can find that in the paragraph that says, Inte mesmo asa branca. So even the asa branca is migrating away from the sertão. And sertão is our second word. Sertão is a word that's used to refer to a rural area that is away from large agglomerations of people. It's rural, a little bit wild, and very natural. Voila, what else did we have? We had two other words that are very interesting I wanted to highlight. Gado. So gado means livestock, basically. Probably cattle, could be horses. Guess it could be some other animals, but they are the most likely ones. And then a word that I never looked up until I came to prepare this video, alazão. An alazão is officially a sorrel horse, what we would normally call, in more informal English, a chestnut horse, a brown horse. Voila. The lyrics tell a story of the northeast in a period of drought. So in a period of great heat and very little rain, and therefore very little water. So the lyrics talk about the animals dying because of a lack of water, the plants dying, not being any trees on the plantation. And then it becomes a little bit of a love story where the singer says goodbye to his love Rosinha and goes away, but is desperately longing to return to his sertão when he can, when the rain comes and the land is once again workable for the agriculture. So I'm going to give you a very simple functional translation, and I really emphasize that this is a simple functional translation. I haven't tried to make the phrases rhyme. I haven't tried to make the lines sound good in English. I've tried to stay as close to the Portuguese words as possible. So it sounds a little bit funny, but hopefully will be more useful for you when it comes to understanding the Portuguese than if I'd spent hours doing a beautiful, poetic, very adapted version. So, when I looked at the land burning, like one of St. John's fires. Now, St. John is a patron saint who's very important in the northeast of Brazil, as well as elsewhere, and is linked to the month of June. I asked God in the sky, why is there so much cruelty? And here you have a repetition if you look at the lyrics. I'm not going to say the same thing twice, you can work that out. What a brazier, what a furnace. Not a tree on the plantation. And in the lyrics, literally it's nem pé. A pé is a foot, but it's used as well to refer to the idea of a tree. Because of a lack of water, I lost my livestock. My chestnut horse died of thirst. And in the Portuguese, it's actually inverted. Died of thirst, my chestnut horse. We then go on to even the asa branca flapped its wings away from the sertão. So I said goodbye Rosinha, Rosinha being the name of a woman or a girl. Keep my heart with you. Today, many leagues away, in a sad, solitary loneliness, I'm waiting for the rain to fall again so I can return to my sertão. When the green of your eyes spreads across the plantation, I assure you, please don't cry. I'm coming back, my sweetheart. So as I said, a very functional translation, but hopefully one that will enable you to really start to understand what the song is talking about. Voilà, voilà. Bye!